This is the story of the awakening of the ring. Gandalf the Grey, the wise wizard, stood atop a high mountain, feeling a dark energy in the air. Suddenly, he realized the truth. The One Ring, a powerful artifact lost to time, had awakened. Its dark power was stirring, and Gandalf knew this meant danger for all of Middle-earth. He quickly set off to find Aragorn, the skilled ranger. When Gandalf found Aragorn, he explained the urgent situation. Aragorn listened closely, recalling his friends, Legolas the elf, Gimli the dwarf, and Boromir the brave warrior. They had fought evil together before and needed to unite again. Gandalf told Aragorn that the ring was calling to Sauron, and they had to act quickly to stop it. Next, Gandalf traveled to Hobbiton, where Bilbo Baggins was celebrating his birthday. Frodo, Bilbo's nephew, was with him, unaware of the danger ahead. Gandalf spoke to Frodo, revealing the truth about the ring and its power. Frodo was chosen to carry the ring, and his loyal friend Sam decided to accompany him. As Frodo and Sam journeyed through a dark forest, they sensed they were being hunted. The ring wraiths, terrifying servants of Sauron, were in pursuit. Just as they feared capture, Aragorn appeared, ready to protect them. He fought bravely against the ring wraiths, but during the battle, Frodo was injured by a cursed blade. To save Frodo, Arwen, a powerful elf and Aragorn's beloved, came to their aid. She took Frodo on her horse and raced to Rivendell, her father Elrond's kingdom. The ring wraiths chased them relentlessly. When they reached a river, Arwen called upon her magic, summoning the waters to sweep the wraiths away. Frodo awoke in Rivendell, safe but weak. Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli surrounded him. They knew the battle against Sauron was far from over. Together, they discussed their next steps, understanding that they had to destroy the ring to save Middle-earth. Thus, the Fellowship of the Ring was formed, ready to face the challenges ahead, where leaders from different lands discuss what to do with the One Ring. Some think it can be used as a weapon, while others, like Gandalf, know it must be destroyed in Mount Doom, the volcano where it was made. The journey to Mount Doom is full of dangers, and no one knows who should carry the ring. As everyone argues, Frodo steps forward and offers to take the ring himself. Elrond and the others admire Frodo's bravery, but they decide he won't go alone. A group of companions is formed to protect and help him, and they become known as the Fellowship of the Ring. The Fellowship sets off from Rivendell on their dangerous journey to Mount Doom. Along the way, they cross snowy mountains, but are forced to find another path because of a storm. They enter the dark underground mines of Moria, where they face orcs, goblins, and a powerful creature called the Balrog. In a fierce battle, Gandalf sacrifices himself to save the group, falling into an abyss with the Balrog. The Fellowship is heartbroken but keeps going. After escaping Moria, they find rest in the peaceful elven land of Lothlorien, ruled by the elf queen Galadriel. She gives Frodo a phial of light to help him in dark places and shows him a vision of the dark future that could happen if they failed to destroy the ring. Spirits lifted, the Fellowship set out once more, journeying down the great river. However, the weight of the ring was a heavy burden for Frodo. One night, while camping by the river, he noticed Boromir gazing at him with a longing that soon turned into desperation. The allure of the ring gnawed at Boromir, who tried to persuade Frodo to use its power to save Gondor. But in a moment of clarity, he recognized the danger and shame of his desire. The attack of the Uruk-hai. Suddenly, chaos erupted as a band of Uruk-hai, sent by Saruman, launched a surprise attack. Boromir fought valiantly to protect the Fellowship, using every ounce of strength he had left. In a fierce struggle, he saved Merry and Pippin, but was grievously wounded. As the Uruk-hai retreated with the captured hobbits, Boromir collapsed to the ground, mortally wounded. Frodo, witnessing the chaos, realized that he could no longer involve his friends in this perilous quest. He must go to Mordor alone. Yet, just as Frodo prepared to leave, Sam appeared, having followed him. "I'm coming with you, Frodo," he insisted. With a heavy heart, Frodo accepted Sam's companionship. Together, they set off toward Mordor, leaving the remnants of the Fellowship behind. The remaining Fellowship. Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli faced the aftermath of Boromir's death, the plains of Rohan. The journey is exhausting and unforgiving, but they press on, driven by their loyalty to Merry and Pippin. After days of tracking, they finally stumble upon a gruesome scene, an entire company of Uruk-hai slaughtered. The riders of Rohan, led by Éomer, had intercepted the Uruk-hai and defeated them. Desperate for answers, Aragorn questions Éomer about the fate of the hobbits. Éomer reveals that they found no trace of the small captives among the dead. Though shaken, Aragorn refuses to give up hope and leads his companions into the nearby Fangorn forest. Meanwhile, Merry and Pippin, having slipped away during the chaos of the battle, venture deep into Fangorn. There they come face to face with Treebeard, a towering Ent who mistakes them for orcs. After hearing their tale, Treebeard takes pity on them and offers them protection, guiding them further into the mysterious forest. As they share the growing danger posed by Saruman, Treebeard is stirred to action. He calls for an Entmoot, a gathering of the ancient tree shepherds, to decide whether the Ents will rise against Isengard. While Merry and Pippin wait in the forest, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli encounter a surprising figure, Gandalf, returned as Gandalf the White after his victory over the Balrog. His return brings new hope, and with Gandalf's guidance they continue toward Rohan, where darker threats await. Arriving at Rohan's capital, they find King Theoden under the oppressive influence of Saruman's agent, Grima Wormtongue. Gandalf, using his newfound power, breaks Saruman's hold over Theoden, restoring the king's strength and mind. Grima is cast out, and Theoden begins to rally his people for the inevitable war against Saruman's forces. Gandalf urges Theoden to seek reinforcements, knowing that the time for battle is near. As Rohan prepares for war, the Ents, spurred by Treebeard and the pleas of Merry and Pippin, march on Isengard. Their decision to confront Saruman marks a critical turn in the struggle against the forces of darkness, as the free peoples of Middle-earth slowly unite for the looming battle. Now, King Theoden gathered his warriors, including Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, to prepare for battle against Saruman's vast forces at Helm's Deep. They fortified the fortress and delivered inspiring speeches, uniting the riders of Rohan for the fight ahead. As night fell, Saruman's massive army of Uruk-hai launched their attack. The battle began fiercely, and although the defenders fought bravely, they were pushed back to the inner keep. Just when all seemed hopeless, Gandalf returned with Éomer and a new army, charging down from the hills. Their surprise attack turned the tide of battle, and together they drove the Uruk-hai out of Helm's Deep. With victory in hand, the people of Rohan celebrated, but the threat of Saruman still loomed. Encouraged by their success, King Theoden decided to take the fight to Isengard. As they journeyed toward the fortress, they witnessed the devastation left by the Ents, who had attacked and ruined Saruman's stronghold. Upon reaching Isengard, they found it in ruins, and Saruman captured. Gandalf confronted him about his betrayal, but Saruman was powerless to manipulate them any longer. After dealing with Saruman, Theoden and his companions set off for Gondor, knowing they must unite to face Sauron, who was gathering strength in Mordor. Meanwhile, Frodo and Sam continued their perilous journey to Mordor. After parting ways with their friends, Frodo felt the heavy burden of the ring, but Sam refused to leave his side. They navigated treacherous terrain and encountered Gollum, who offered to guide them through secret paths. At the Black Gate of Mordor, they found it too heavily guarded to enter. Gollum suggested the secret path of Cirith Ungol, and they agreed to follow him. As they traveled deeper into the bleak landscape, the corrupting influence of the ring grew stronger on Frodo. Gollum led them to Cirith Ungol, where they faced orc gods. They decided to sneak inside, but chaos erupted when an orc recognized Gollum. Frodo and Sam seized the opportunity to escape deeper into the tower, becoming separated from Gollum. Inside the dark corridors, Frodo's fear mounted. When they encountered an orc leader, Frodo put on the ring to become invisible, saving them but deepening the ring's hold on him. Sam fought off orc attackers to find Frodo, and they eventually reunited, ready to continue their journey to Mount Doom, where the fate of the ring and all of Middle-earth awaited a beginning. Aragorn, understanding that Rohan's army alone could not stand against Sauron's might, chose a daring and dangerous path. Alongside Legolas and Gimli, he rode south to the paths of the dead, seeking the aid of an ancient, cursed army, oathbreakers who had betrayed Gondor's king long ago. It was said that only the rightful king of Gondor could summon them to fulfill their broken oath. With great courage, Aragorn entered the haunted mountain and called upon the dead. Bound by their ancient vow, they agreed to fight for him. Together, they rode to Pelargir, where they confronted the corsairs of Umbar, Sauron's naval allies. With the aid of the ghostly army of the dead, Aragorn seized the corsair ships and turned the tide in Gondor's favor. Meanwhile, Gondor's capital, Minas Tirith, stood on the edge of ruin. The black banners of Sauron's armies darkened the sky, and the city braced for its darkest hour. Denethor, steward of Gondor, had fallen into despair, consumed by the loss of his son Boromir and the belief that his other son, Faramir, would soon die. Faramir had led a brave defense of Osgiliath, but had been forced to retreat, gravely wounded. Overwhelmed by grief and madness, Denethor retreated to the tombs of his ancestors, planning to take his own life and that of his son. At this critical moment, Gandalf arrived with Pippin at his side. Seeing Denethor's madness, Gandalf took control of the city's defense, rallying the men of Gondor. As the vast armies of Mordor, led by the Witch King of Angmar, descended upon the city, fire and shadow rained down. The defenders fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Just as Minas Tirith seemed on the verge of collapse, the horns of Rohan sounded in the distance. King Theoden, honoring the ancient alliance between Gondor and Rohan, had arrived. With a thunderous charge, Theoden and his riders swept into the enemy ranks, bringing new hope to the beleaguered city. Yet, amidst the chaos, the Witch King confronted Theoden, striking him down in battle. It was then that Éowyn, disguised as a rider, stood against the Witch King, with Merry by her side. Defying the prophecy that no man could kill him, Éowyn revealed herself, declaring, "I am no man." With Merry's help, she delivered the final blow, ending the Witch King's reign of terror. Though Theoden perished, proud of his niece's bravery, the battle raged on. The forces of Gondor and Rohan were once again overwhelmed when, at the critical moment, Aragorn arrived. Sailing up the river on the captured corsair ships, Aragorn brought not only his freedmen, but also the army of the dead. Their spectral power swept through Sauron's forces, turning the tide of the battle. With this final push, Minas Tirith was saved. However, the war was not yet over. The One Ring, still in Frodo's possession, remained the key to Sauron's defeat. Aragorn, now hailed as the true king of Gondor, knew they needed to give Frodo and Sam a chance to destroy the ring. He led the combined armies of Gondor and Rohan on a daring march to the Black Gate of Mordor. Their force was small compared to Sauron's legions, but the goal was not to defeat the Dark Lord in open battle. Instead, they sought to draw Sauron's attention away from Frodo, who was still making his way to Mount Doom. At the Black Gate, Aragorn and his army faced Sauron's overwhelming forces. Encircled by Mordor's legions, the situation seemed hopeless. Yet Aragorn, unwavering, called out to Sauron, challenging his might. Meanwhile, deep in Mordor, Frodo and Sam reached Mount Doom, weary from their journey. As they stood on the brink of success, the ring's power overwhelmed Frodo. He claimed it as his own. But in the final moment, Gollum, who had followed them, attacked Frodo, biting the ring from his finger. In his madness, Gollum fell into the fires of Mount Doom, taking the ring with him. With the destruction of the ring, Sauron's power was broken. His tower crumbled, his armies disintegrated, and his dominion over Middle-earth came to an end. Aragorn was crowned King of Gondor in a grand ceremony in Minas Tirith. Reunited with Arwen, his queen, he ushered in an era of peace and prosperity. The Fourth Age of Middle-earth began, and under Aragorn's reign, Gondor and the free peoples of Middle-earth flourished. The Fellowship's quest had been fulfilled, and the shadow of Sauron was lifted forever.